So, future Shaz, you know what happened. I don't know what happened, but let me fill you in on things as I see them from my perspective so far. So I can't smoke another joint, but do I risk it? I don't know when my parents are coming home. Maybe 6. I'm gonna finish these videos about 5:30. I originally said 5:15, but between this video and the last video, there's lasagna that had to be eaten, and I put most of it in my mouth. And what didn't make it, I don't know. Anyways, I ate I ate a lot of lasagna just now, and it's interesting. Speaking on camera makes me realize how judgmental I am towards people who speak on camera. You should be more empathic to them, Shaz, for their plight is a hard one, I'm sure. To try to process yourself, being aware of yourself as you are recorded. This is a job for coffee and lots of half and half. Most of this is fat, is what it is. You have to drink a lot of. Yeah, you know what's good about gaining or losing weight or muscle rapidly is that, like, you feel like you could change your body. You're like, oh, okay, I'm walking around with this now. I was walking around with skinny shots for a minute, but he was getting a little bit too skinny. So now we got to blow him up a little bit. Hot dog shares. It's interesting knowing how much weaker or stronger you can get in any given month. It's like, all right, so I can do a couple months of this, inflate a little bit. I don't know, but then you get tired of the gym. That's why you got to keep it interesting. I go at 9 o'clock when there's a bunch of cute girls coming in for this fitness class. Sometimes there's only one or two cute ones. Sometimes, like today, there's like 5 or 6. That's nice. They're pretty birds. It's nice to have pretty birds. You don't stare, but geez, within the normal. I don't think that I changed my routine at all, but it's nice to have pretty ambiance. I think I help them with their workout too. Some dude's over there, and I'm like, and then I see them walk by. Of course, I'm putting some extra grunts and sweats. You got to give them a little preview of what's to come in the private sessions. You got to give obviously everyone knows how you grunt in the gym is how you sound when he puts that in. That's the schoolyard saying. That's what we would always say about when we were young. Well, you grunt in the gym, how you sound when you put that in. What? Doing our double dutch and shit. It was like a regional. It was like a regional affectation from my part of the desert growing up. What the fuck are we even talking about? OWS archives. OWS archives. Should we smoke another joint? That is a question. I want to be a dick. My parents wouldn't kick me out. I keep waiting for it. I'm like, oh, did I cross the line? You guys can kick me out. I got 2 bags. That's why I got 2 bags. So I can run my mouth. I can run my mouth as far as 2 bags can take me, apparently. No more, no less. 2 bags, and I don't gotta shut up. Less than 2 bags, and I'd probably be. I need my comforts. I need a couple things. More things in 1 bag. Less things than 3 bags. But 2 bag Shaz seems to be a pretty decent dude. I think I could fit a tent in one of those bags too. So tempted sometimes just to fucking take off and find a beach. A new one, not an old one. Find the beach in the Philippines where they put psychedelic mushrooms on your pizza. That's where maybe money. Money's at the end of this project, isn't it? That's what Future Shaz told me. Future Shaz told me that if I keep doing this project, that good things are in store. And I don't know if I trust that guy's judgment because, first of all, he's never accountable for his actions. Future Shaz fucking promises a lot, but he knows that we can't go check up on him. We can't go over there to the fucking future and be like, oh, okay, yeah, things worked out. Okay, nah, present Shaz and past Shaz are fucked. That's why sometimes past Shaz gets down. Past Shaz gets down sometimes because he ain't got fucking no ability to change anything. Past Shaz is just like looking back at everything like, yeah, well, that happened. Oh, and then that happened. Yeah, and then that happened. Couldn't prevent that from happening, or that. I tried to prevent that from happening. I was fearing that ever since I knew it could happen. And then when it finally did happen, it wasn't as big of a deal. Probably because I had already paid for it by then. Paid for it in fear. The OWS archives taken from the anarchivist who owns the Occupy Wall Street narrative. Source. On November 15th, NYPD officers raided Zuccotti Park and the Occupy Wall Street movement lost its space. Now, groups and institutions, including the Smithsonian's Natural Museum of American History, NYU's Tamiment Library, and the New York Historical Society, are working to enshrine the movement in the form of an archive. But who, in the end, will get to tell the definitive story? In room 33 on the 8th floor of Manhattan Mini Storage, Jeremy Bold unwraps a white flag. As an aside, Jeremy is one of those guys that played those the spy games. So how long, Jeremy, have you worked for the government? Then you wait, and the first person to speak loses. It's like, haha. Are you serious? I mean, what do you mean? What are you talking about? We were talking about 9/11, and he had convinced me that he was he was so far from my rational point of view. Which obviously I have to assume my sanity first and foremost. But then when the world disagrees with you in rather clear and, when you're, with no uncertainty. When the world speaks with you in no uncertain terms, with a very strong disagreement as opposed to your interpretation of reality, it's probably safe to listen to it. And I'm like, I don't know. So was he a government guy? No, probably just some hipster with a magazine. He had a magazine that made him some decent money. But I'm really surprised when people don't share my political ideas, but then I have to remember how much time and effort and personal experience I put into them. And sometimes I remember that I'm wrong, but it happens so rarely. That's one of the thing about humility is you have to practice it. And when you're proven wrong so rarely, you get out of practice with humility. I guess that's what I'm doing right now. I'm inviting corrections so that way I could get back in practice with humility, because I've been on one for a minute. That's a pretty good summation. On the flag is my balls were in my throat. On the flag is a pair of scissors and the word uncut wrapped in a scarlet circle. Bold arranges more flags, as well as spray-painted posters and several dozen cardboard signs. The signs discuss fear and greed, tax dodgers, people versus profits, Obama, Reagan, and the 99%. 1.5 miles away at Zuccotti Park, Samara Smith reconstructs the pre-eviction atmosphere. Since September, she's been capturing ambient sound, including chants, songs, and teach-ins from the protests. And now she records people's memories from the occupation. She's creating an immersive audio walking tour of the space. In Washington, D.C., Howard Besser, the director of New York University's Moving Image Archive program, prepares for a call. His organization in New York, the activist archivists, have placed a laptop with Skype on Besser's usual spot at the table. Their discussion will include best practices on categorizing and mapping Occupy videos, Creative Commons licensing and informed consent, and digital collaboration. Shortly after 1 a.m. on November 15th, NYPD officers in full riot gear raided Zuccotti Park, and the Occupy Wall Street movement lost its space. Now, groups and institutions, including the Smithsonian's Natural Museum of History, American NYU's Tamiment Library and the New York Historical Society are working to enshrine the movement in the form of an archive. But who, in the end, will get to tell the definitive story? Jeremy Bold sports horn-rimmed glasses and a Tahir Square-inspired beard. The 27-year-old recent graduate of Jeremy Bold. Jeremy Bold wasn't the guy I talked to. I don't know this guy. I might know this guy. The 27-year-old recent graduate of NYU's Library Science program is a key figure in the Occupy Wall Street movement's archives group. He points out that the word archive derives from the Greek archaion, which refers to the home or dwelling of the archon, or ruler. The first archives were filled at the archon's home, and he would decide what documents would enter the historical record. The idea was that it can't be like that, Bold said of the Occupy Wall Street archive. We can't structure it like that if we want to represent people and claim that people are the arbiters of their own history. Is that what we want to claim, Jeremy Bold? Because I would love to want to claim that, but that's not what we publicly wanted to claim. But that is a great articulation. We should remember that. The people are the arbiters of their own history. So this is why I linked up with these people, because they know what they're talking about. They seem smarter than the average person, even though we still didn't do shit either. Bold had been floating the idea of an initiative he believes would better fit the ideals of a movement that was intentionally leaderless. He calls it an archive that would distribute power and responsibility for collecting material among the people. We cannot possibly capture everything that is being produced in this movement, he says. What better way to make the archive accountable to the people than to make the people accountable for the archive? You see that? It's called circular logic for a reason, because you start on one side and then you just don't come out. What better way to make the archive accountable to the people than to make the people accountable to the archive, so the archive can be accountable to the people, because the people are accountable to the archive, which is accountable to the people. The absolute democracy can spell trouble for an archive in the presence of efficiency and direction. The initial material for an archive usually comes from the heroic narrative of key players, says Richard John, a historian of... Who the fuck agreed that heroic narratives of key players? Really? Oh, see, this is a difference. When you're not explaining reality as it is objectively, and that can be verified because all you're doing is supporting power structures, then you need heroic narratives of key players in order to keep people distracted, because you have to embed emotion into the narrative, or else it won't have sway over the population. It won't grab hold of them and just we're just addicted to emotional narratives. But history itself has an emotional narrative. It's one of man struggling for self-determination and freedom under oppressive forces. It seems like ever since we allowed the civilization, city, whatever grouping of society into a social structure, genie out of the bottle, then we've been suffering the consolidation of authority into these bureaucracies that we can't get rid of, called governments, called shitty-ass jobs, called shitty-ass economies, called shitty-ass political structures, any bureaucracy which is predatory, which doesn't justify itself. But so if you don't look at life and reality that way, which I believe is a more objective, closer to reality opinion that I've discovered so far, piecing together what I've read and what I've lived, then you just worship heroic key players. So who's this fucking Richard John? A historian of communications and part-time cocksucker. Professor at the Columbia University Graduate School of Journalism. He's a full-time cocksucker. He says archives of movements such as the Civil Rights Movement began with personal documents of figures like Ella Baker and Martin Luther King Jr. Maybe I'm too hard on this guy. He sounds like a professional. Individuals have letters, he says. That's where the history is derived. Can we think of a major historical movement without a central figure? He's looking for heroes. It's very dangerous. It's very dangerous of you, Richard John. Richard John? Really? 2 first names? What the fuck? This is why we protest. It's shit like this that makes me fucking not believe in God. Fucking the Archives Project leaderless nature means that the movement's message will be lost in the noise. If you don't believe in leaders, you might say, oh my God, I have to collect everything. Is that why you erased us from history, Ben Rhodes? Did you not? How are we? Joe Rogan's like, oh, you're just a bunch of college kids. And why the fuck are people why are museums trying to figure out how to record us in history? They're not. They're just finding out how much can they erase. And that's what they figured. That's how little respect they gave to us. We could fucking not even mention them. The fucking chief, he's the chief narrator. Barack Obama's 8 years in office. That was his chief, what they call it, framer, narrator, fucking. It's not spokesperson, it's a person who crafts messaging. He was his messaging consultant. We weren't even worth a footnote in that fucking book. Ben Rhodes, The World as It Is. Shaz is not a fan. For now, that's exactly what the movement is doing. Shaz Barrett, whose legal name is David McNerney, fucking A. I should put that on my tombstone. His legal name was David McNerney. Is in the public atrium at 60 Wall Street. The building is in the national headquarters of Deutsche Bank, but its public atrium is a privately owned public space that has been the de facto conference space for the OWS groups. Barrick heads towards the suite, swinging his shoulders noticeably while he walks. He chews on his cigarette. Hey, sweetie, have you got a light? Says Mr. Shazberry. He says to the woman walking by, hey, sweetie, hey, ass, tits and ass over there. Yo, you got a light? Did I get it, though? Did I get the light? Did she stop and smile and give me the light? Did she ignore me? Did she walk on? Did she flip me off? I'll let you in on a secret. I was fucking deep in that later on that night. I was deep in it. I was like some pipe. I was deep. A fucking construction house, a little fucking light. I was deep. Like a miner, fucking whistle while you work. I was fucking deep. I was fucking, I'm like, where was I? Hey, sweetie, have you got a light? He says to the woman walking by. Barrick is bullish about the Archives project. It can serve as a function in transparency, democracy, humanism. Humanism, he says while tugging at his scruffy beard. He had been staying in Zuccotti Park until the eviction. He first came in to New York from California on November 1st to pitch his book on radical politics, The Complete American's Guide to Revolution. He is radical. He talks rapidly. The radical calls people sweetie. Rapidly about the archive scope, the tweets, the Facebook, the feeds. He talks rapidly, by the way. He might be on methamphetamines. Oral histories, physical and digital ephemera is going to be one of the most ambitious and complex digital initiatives ever undertaken. If I just fucking light this cigarette, I tell you what, I get this cigarette lit, the fucking, everything else is done pretty much. Now I just gotta smoke. I'm done. I came. I fucking, whoo. He enters an office at 50 Broadway is what it was. A few blocks, wait. Yeah, 50 Broadway. And then 60 Wall Street was the atrium. The office is home to several of the movement's groups. Past the green and black Nirvana poster on the far wall is a space for cubicles. Here, Barrick pulls out an oversized garbage bag and retrieves a fist-sized piece of an electric blue banjo. He says it was retrieved from the Department of Sanitation after the police's overnight raid. We also retrieved the bodies of puppies that were crushed during the eviction, he says, but we couldn't keep those. Note, there were various posts on social networks such as Facebook and Reddit about the puppies, but no confirmed reports. The garbage bag also contains a poster of a young girl mouthing the words, "We are 99%," a rolled-up infographic showing the disproportionate wealth of the 1%, and a Spy vs. Spy adaptation of Shepard Fairey's iconic Hope poster. The current storage arrangement is hazardous to long-term preservation. The environment is not controlled for light and temperature, and lumping together artifacts in a garbage bag could lead to mold. But the immediacy of this problem doesn't resonate with some members of the archives group. Maybe at some point, but we don't have to worry about it now, says James Molenda. James Molenda was the dude. That's what it was. 32. He was a little bit older than me. He's the guy who owns a magazine that fucking I accused of being an Asian. We kind of fell off, but we had hung out a little bit. But it was me and him and another girl. I don't know if we wanted to fuck the other girl. I don't know if the other girl was kind of into me, but they were both a little bit older than me, so they were both a little bit more honest and open, probably about their emotions and their feelings. But I was just like hanging out, and then I was like, all of a sudden we weren't hanging out anymore, and I was like, all right, that's cool. But maybe if I stayed in the group, I joined the group saying that I was going to get them some money, and then I was like, but then I got this farms thing, and I started getting the farms money, and I stopped going to the group meetings, so they probably got a little bit mad. Because I just kind of like, that's how you socially navigate, right? You go to a new school, all of a sudden, hey, I'm your guys' friends because you're playing marbles. But really, I just know if I walk across a fucking playground alone, I might get my ass whooped by some bullies. So let me just check the scene right here. All right, cool. And then I run from over here to the fucking soccer field. Now we're fucking playing soccer. Right, a lot of people playing soccer. That's a good place to fucking make friends. Oh, you guys are friends, I'm friends. Now we walk back to the line at the end of recess. Those times that you do walk alone, maybe it's cool, maybe it's not. These dudes followed me into a bathroom. I saw them across the playground. I was like, oh, I picked up a tail. Let's go in the bathroom, see what's up. When they walked in the bathroom, I was back at the wall looking at them. Like, what's good? He walks up to me, he pushes his hands on my fucking chest, starts pushing me back into the wall. I'm like, whoa, we can play this game. I took his hands and I switched them over. But I think I grabbed it like this, and I switched him over. And now I'm pushing him. And he's like, and then he gets a little scared. I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, I don't really have, if like he put his hands on me, if I had grabbed him like that, then I'd have normal hands and he'd have switched over hands. But we both had switched over hands. So in my mind, it was like not a real advantage. This happened before in a fight, or not really a fight, but someone hit me. And I was just so concentrated on where the punch was going to come from, I didn't pay attention to actually fucking getting out of the way of the punch. And, but this kid, I have him fucking like that, and I'm pushing him back. And then I just get close enough to the door that I let him go and I fucking just run off. And so I thought it was fun. But that's the thing with danger. You can get right up to danger until you fucking get hit or you get hurt. And then you get pissed off, and then that's a whole nother gear. But up till that gear, it seems to be interesting. That's what, like, my grandpa was like a fucking fighter pilot. So maybe people enjoy risk more than others. But like, and anyways, that was a good memory. I always wanted to fucking like, not always, but like I've been thinking about, maybe I mentioned it before. Sometimes you think about, man, I want to remember to fucking say that because I'm running out. Oh, I'm gonna feel like that at the very end. I'm like, oh, but I have another memory. Oh no, I want to close the door because this is gonna affect how I remember in the future. These will be the memories that I keep the most, probably if I go back over this. I don't know what the fuck we're doing, honestly, but it's something. Maybe at some point we don't have to worry about it now. Says James. Oh, that's what it was. James. So I became friends with them, like you do as you go to school. And then sometimes you meet other people and you spend more time with those new people than the last people. And it's like, all right, well, that's stepping stones. I'm glad you're in my life. And I hope that you're glad I was in yours. And I helped them write a proposal. I'm decent with words. And I was like, yeah, I'll help you guys write a proposal. Word. All right, that sounds good. They're like, yeah, it's cool. You could look at my email chain. I wanted to release the email chain. We talked a lot and stuff. But they're just, I mean, they were cool. But like, I like the librarians better than them. It's like archivists are cool. But like, that was the idea. Is like archiving information for the historic record, which I was doing through my writing. I peeked in the door. I knew enough. I was like, all right. And then we got this article. We need everyone's story to combine for the Occupy story. My original idea was to go around the country and talk to other Occupies and dig deep. Maybe I could still do it, but you just need that bigger perspective. I feel like I'm still creating that bigger perspective. He wears a bright blue sweater and furry dog-eared hat. He was adorable in that furry dog-eared hat. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Balanced against a perpetual frown and a slow, monotone voice. He didn't always frown. He just was pensive. Fucking my boy James didn't fucking frown. And he had a beautiful voice. He had a singing voice. He had a fucking melodic voice. He was a dude. He was the managing editor of Found magazine, a sporadically published... Wow, another dig. These people are just fucking... I didn't notice how much they got at him. Collection of crowdsourced notes, letters, and photographs. He is focused on cataloging artifacts as they come in and tagging them according to theme and medium. For example, he says, a cardboard sign protesting police brutality would be tagged with police and cardboard and entered into the catalog with a low-resolution photograph. The next stage involves, he says, those who are trained for this stuff, referring to the library science students such as Bold, who can organize a catalog in a meaningful structure that would allow a narrative to form. So what we're supposed to do is take history, cut it up into little manageable pieces, and then store it away for the future editors of our collective narrative. So, but who creates those editors? We don't know. We study this stuff. We don't. You just study how to plug into the system. Don't worry about how to change the system. God forbid you invent a better system. Just make sure it has the same fault so I can find a job. That's all. But we don't want to improve systems. If you think about what the jobs are, they're in the bureaucracy. They're off of the power structures. I don't know. What is the fucking motivation of this person who's writing this magazine? Was that James saying that? Is that why I thought he was an agent? Look at that. You have to trust your emotional response sometimes. Maybe James is a little bitch. Referring to library science. The next stage, he says, involves those who are trained for the stuff, referring to the library science students such as Bold, who can organize a catalog in a meaningful structure that will allow. But whose opinion is that? Is that James or is that this fucking douchebags? Who is this dude? Or is it a girl? Oh, shit. Do we have a little something? Was there something? Hiten Sentai. I don't know. I'd have to think. That's why you gotta... Oh, there's Jeremy Bold. I remember Jeremy. Jeremy. Do they get James Melinda? Matthew Murphy. Howard Besser. Jeremy Bold. We already got Jeremy. I was looking for James. Uh-oh. I think my parents are here. Jazz. First of all, it's late and it's dark. No, it's not. It's 4:55. Ah, the days are getting darker. We're coming upon a winter solstice, and the dark is growing, and the sun is fleeting, and the days are nigh drawing near, too cold and too short and dark. As we come upon the winter solstice, let us be aware of the deprivement of energy, the slowing down of the seasons, the death of what was living, and the struggle of what maintains life. OWS Archives. What the fuck? It's interesting. It is what it is. I brought up some good memories. We must move on. I moved on from them, and now we must move on from it. And then after I left Occupy Farms, I just kind of floated. I started writing, being like, I need to get some of this shit down. Then I took those videos, and I bounced. And there's some other stuff that came up between that. OWS Costume Department. We might have to do a couple more videos than I plan to do about Occupy Wall Street. The cops have been monitoring the protesters at Zuccotti Park. Maybe the fashion police should too. Good one, Karen. The wardrobe of the Occupy Wall Street movement has taken on an eclectic life of its own as hand-me-down duds continue to pour into the encampment. A comfort station at the park now resembles the shelves of a well-stocked New York thrift store, and demonstrators can take as they please. And as the cold weather kicks in and the layers become a necessity, the park dwellers have turned the downtown pavilion into a catwalk show, featuring a colorful mishmash of outdated styles, ill-fitting jackets, and misshapen sweaters. On a recent afternoon, a man walked through the rows of tents wearing an Occupy Wall Street donated pair of beige workman's overalls and long-sleeved white t-shirt as if he had just stepped off a construction site. Another man stood a few feet away, decked out in shocking pink gloves, sorry Karen, and a long woman's tweed winter coat. I wanted this coat when I saw it. It's cool, and it's long, explained Jason Harrison, 24, from the East Village, who said he arrived at Zuccotti Park 3 weeks ago without a jacket or a sweater and helped himself. And I wanted a hat because it's cold, he added, motioning to the faux fur Russian chapeau on his head. I'm not worried about fashion. The Comfort Committee, responsible for keeping people clothed, sheltered, and warm, relies on the generosity of well-wishers who drop off dozens of bags of items each day. Protesters are free to browse the rails and take their pick, and as the selection of clothes grows, some demonstrators are even getting picky. Sometimes people send me back for a different style of pants, or they say they want corduroys or sweats. says the Comfort team member Shaz Barrick, 29, a rider who flew from Los Angeles to become a part of the Occupy Wall Street. I guess it's human nature to feel a sense of entitlement. But for some people, how many times have they been allowed to have this kind of choice? Think about it. It's about the choice. A 20-year-old protester from Michigan who goes by the name Scott heads the Comfort station every morning to choose a new outfit for the day and drops off clothes he wore the day before. I can dress however I feel like it that day. It's great, he explained, wearing a purple scarf, a long gray wool coat, camouflage hat, and jeans. I'm not limited to the same clothes in my dressing room again and again, and I have a different hat every day. Since arriving in the financial district more than a month ago, Scott has worn a Burberry jacket, pinstripe beige pants, a bright green shirt, and an array of hats. He also has seen people walking around the camp in his old clothes after sending them to Occupy Wall Street Laundry and donating them in the communal pile. I like it, he said. It's fair. It's open. And I don't have to do my own laundry. I just take back my dirty or wet clothes and I exchange them. No matter how dirty, no matter how wet. Okay, thank you. That was that was good. Don't have to add anything to that. That was probably the fairest article I've read about the Occupy Wall Street movement, and I appreciated it. And I picked out some very spiffy duds. If you look at 10 Bone Press and you look at the picture I put up there, there's I look somewhat like a reporter because I found a reporter's hat. I found a white shirt. Did up the sleeves because you a geek if you don't fold your sleeves. And then I have like a white shirt underneath. Yeah, just because you broke don't mean you ain't got style. Everyone's got style. You gotta show your style. Somehow, do something. Right now, I got a beard. It's nice to be born with style. Sometimes you're born with just like facial hair. Or if you're not, I don't know. What's your style? I like the slash in my eyebrow. You could add shit to your where's a dude who's putting the tattoo of a mask around his face? Be pretty dope. I'm not saying you should do it, but I'm not really saying you shouldn't do it. What? You fucking mask face? That's fucking dope. You're the first. No one's mask face yet. Yeah, there is. How many people are mask face? If I fucking Google that shit right now, there are 20 million mask face out there. Shaz. But really, we must get back to work. OWS bank statements. Okay, so. Wearing clothes, doing the farm thing. Farm took up a lot of November. Come back December. The farm people were like, Shaz, we don't trust you with money. I'm like, I don't trust me with money. I was shocked you guys trusted me with money. No, I bought a laptop. Farm people were like, what the fuck, you bought a laptop? I was like, I guess I just don't slow down to explain myself to people. And I was just like, well, fuck it. But that's what it is. I invite people to an organization. We weren't clear about the values and what we were doing and what the responsibilities were. I'm like, how do you think we're going to get money? We need to get the website up for the donations. We need to turn these in-person donations. We don't have the park. That's where people are donating a lot of the shit. And then they're also donating online. We can't fight through these bureaucracies in order to get some of this fucking funds, which we're looking at the bank statements now. They're just shoveling them out the door about stupid shit. Bail. A lot of fucking bails paid. And then when people are collecting the bails later on, where'd that money go? We paid a shitload of money in bails, but what about when those cases are settled and shit like that? Doesn't that money come back or something? The bail's just supposed to be, isn't it? I don't know. Out of all the topics I speak on, probably the one I should warn people the most is don't take my advice on bails. Do your own research on that. On mushrooms, on weed, on a lot of stuff. On putting your social security number on your arm, on joining the military, on whether or not you should be involved in a knife fight, and if so, what are your options? You should never be involved in a knife fight. Why would you want to fight with a knife? It's just mean. I don't even like cutting chicken. Right? Some people like cutting meat. I do, actually. I don't know. It's what do you feel when you're cutting fish, cutting meat? It's good. It's an involvement. It is a process. You try to respect it. Even when chicken and stuff like that, it's oh, that's weird. This is meat. This is me at me. Me is most of that fucking word. Me at meat. This is me at different times in the spiritual cycle. Oh, what? Reincarnate. Reincarnationist. That's too many syllables. We need a bank statement. Occupy Wall Street. Obviously, Shaz. You might still be high. We see 1201 they had $310,000. 1230 they had 147. So that's just what this is all about. And then this balance, fucking another one is yeah, just showing. This is two accounts. Account 1621 and 1610, and then this is the second account. So 1621 and 1610. 1621 had beginning balance 76,000, ending balance 90. Oh, that one has more money. That's good. So you gotta be fair with this shit. But is that coming in? What's this all about? I don't know. I have to talk to people who actually fucking were doing the finance. I never could talk to people. Someone leaked me this. I said, hey, we're spending a lot of money, and like that's what it is. We spend half our money. Like I'd heard numbers like $750,000 estimates, or someone had seen something. I just forgot where I got that number, but that seemed like a reasonable number. It might be over $1 million by the time we stop collecting. But you can see that over December alone, they cut it in half. So they probably did it the previous months too. So they're giving out just free subway cards to people who are part of the movement. So that's a good way to burn through a lot of money. They're paying churches to house us. So like our daily housing was burning through a lot. Then they're giving every working group like $100 a day or something like that. You could go over there and just say you had a working group, which incentivizes people just to collect in bullshit groups just to get money. So my idea was, that's why this is very important actually, is to do I have it? Because if that's the case, I'll just pull it up. Let me see if I have it. A proposal to just give everyone back the money. Yeah, I don't have it, so I might as well speak on it. That's why I'll just do more of these videos as much as I need to speak on Occupy Wall Street. But yeah, my idea of my proposal was to do the buy-in, buyout, buy-in, is that you buy everyone out in the movement. So after I left the farms, and then I was getting back involved in this, I left the farms, and I was like, fuck, dude, like that kind of like bummed me out. I made a group of people so we could all chill, but through my own fucking like natural antisocial behavior and fucking lack of desire to be in a leadership role in anything, and distrust of organization, let it kind of like bubble up on its own. And then like some assholes came in that we had to push out. And then this girl, Leah Feder, came in, who I couldn't tell if I had a thing for me or if I had a thing for her. I knew I had a thing for her. I didn't know if it was reciprocated, but she came into my life because that girl that I had hooked up with in the movement was flaming me on these forums. And so at one forum she was like, oh, he's just a fucking scam artist, blah blah blah. And I was like, yo, you need to learn how to bury your axes somewhere other than your ex's back. And that was a pretty good line. I fucking bury the axe, fucking somewhere other than my back. And so this girl was like, as soon as fucking I saw she was in that dialogue or whatever, and so like shortly later, this is just my suspicion, but she wanted to join the farms, and she was like, let's go and do a farms meeting. And she was asking about the next farms meeting, and all of this stuff's new to me. I'm like, oh yeah, we should have a fucking another meeting. All right, we'll have it at this coffee shop. And then some people drop out. It ends up just being me and her at the coffee shop, so it's starting to vibe. And coming from the tourism in Puerto Rico, I felt like I had an approach or a way to fucking kind of like do the dance. I was like, I got moves now. I got moves. I've been working on my moves. Ain't gonna step on no shoes. And if I do, then I'ma say, ooh, I got to work on my moves. I'ma work on my moves. I got to get in my groove. And she said, she took over the whole fucking movement, because that's what a girl like that is. She's just all fucking ego. I talked to her. I fucking recorded a couple of our conversations this year. I promised her at the end of this, one of my last emails to her was like, I'll come back and sweep you off your feet someday. And I did, I think, this last year. She came over to my apartment, and we had some really good vibes, and I kind of felt it. You could hear it on the recording. And then she got mad I recorded her, and she was like, well, I was like, well, she asked me once on one of the recordings, are you recording me? I'm like, no. But I thought it was important. I don't know. That might be something in which I'm on the wrong side of objective opinion. But I think it's a form of protecting yourself. Someone went through this whole movement with me, and then I met her, and then that's what it is. If there was an attraction between us, and we never consummated that relationship, I told her we were like doing a will they or won't they. She thought that was silly. But basically what I was trying to tell her in no uncertain terms, I'm pretty sure she got it. I even told her, why aren't we with each other? You're not with anyone, I'm not with anyone, why not? Because if this isn't a romantic thing, it's kind of weird that we're Like, we're attracted to each other, obviously. And if not, there's this other part of my brain that's like, are they a spy? Are they an organizer? When you try to really get outside the dominant narrative, there's a lot of paranoia that comes, a lot of silliness. And I hear it in old time activists. I know it's just not just me. And I know not everyone is a burned out acid head. This is a guy who owns a assemblage, who fucking manages a WeWork space for spiritualists and for hippie type people. And he's an older dude. And I went to one of his co-working things, and he dropped some like, oh yeah, but back when we were organizing in our day, of course everyone's probably an FBI agent. It's like, why did you have to say that? There's a lot of like projection, and just if the temperature online when people are like, oh, now I'm on a list. That's why I put my social security number on my arm. If I had to say it in one succinct way, that's specific. Is that this society forces us to keep its secrets, and then that wears on us psychologically. Your social security number, the bullshit in Iraq, the genocide is. Everyone knows how shitty of a world we're making it for everyone else, and so that American conscience is burdened by that guilt, and that's what's causing the fucking psychotic fucking breakdown of America. We're watching fucking psychotic reactions at a macro scale. American against American violence. How are you going to defend that in terms of safety? That's psychotic. Why is civil society becoming so psychotic? Well, anyways, that is a tangent. This girl now works for NPR. And I think I am helping her story and helping my story by being so transparent about my life and including her in it. She didn't feel the same way, and we're not talking anymore. But hopefully she'll come around. I think it's one of those things where there's a valley of assholeness. Like, I act a certain way, which is noble. And I can enter a valley of assholeness until more time passes. But I think there's a time when we're going to exit that valley of assholery. And once it's big enough, then she'll thank me, because that will be a promotion for her own name and her own brand. And she should be blogging, she should be writing, because that's why we connected. That's how you cover your bases with a manipulative person, which maybe she doesn't mean to be, but she's a woman with a very strong energy. And if she hasn't learned how to control it, I've told women this in my life, if you don't, I can speak on some shit about women because I've interacted with women on certain terms. And I've seen this pattern play out. If a woman does not control her energy and is aware of it, then she's rippling out all these fucking consequences she has no idea with her sexuality and fucking like arousing people. It's not like you're responsible for other people's reactions, but you understand how patterns work. Look at life, and you know when you're elevating or decreasing energy, when you're taking away from people's shit, when you're fucking manipulating them. Not everyone has the ability to say no. So those of us who are strong forces should learn restraint. If we don't, then we'll find ourselves always in the centers of chaos. And you wonder, how can I be at the center of chaos if I'm this smart and this strong, if I live so wisely and purely, whatever description you give yourself, but if you feel like you live an honorable life, where you account for yourself and you work on your word, as I'm trying to do right here, then if you find yourself in chaos, it's like, what's going on here? You're not recognizing certain patterns. It's not because of lack of ability. All the genius junkies I know, all the fucking genius dropouts, the bottom of society, the people in fucking jail who are inventing shower nozzles out of fucking like pen tubes and shit like that and trying to sell you that shit for 5 ramen. Cause they figure that they're going long on ramen. That shit's gonna be fucking like, I don't know. Dudes in the corner working out. I never went working out with them. When they were working out, I would work out maybe. Do some push-ups, look what they're doing, but I didn't come over and like try to be like, hey, yo, what's up, I'm Shaz, blah, blah, blah. They had their group. They were all like tough-looking people. That's funny. Shaz, you have so much more to do. 43 minutes. I had a very good point. I was talking about Occupy Wall Street, finances. My end game was to turn it into a nonprofit. And then in order to we had to become legit. And that's what it is. Manipulative people like that girl, but it's not, that's what I was saying. It's not necessarily her fault, but like her female energy is like, she went to one of our farms and hooked up with one of the dudes, which is fucking cool. Like, that happens. I hooked up with someone in the protest, but this was a dude who was talking about like actual violence and blowing shit up. It's just like, with people like that, it's like, if they're not really showing, like, that's not cause enough to fucking kick someone out, because they just might be blowing off steam and you take them aside, you're like, yo, dude, this isn't really the forum to do shit like that. Like, you're gonna get more people in trouble talking about that shit. It's like, I don't think violence is the answer. But do I disagree with it enough to actually talk someone out of it? I kind of like look for that, like, more zen, meditative, like, I guess if I was a member of law enforcement, but I'm not. If I was a member of law enforcement and policy making, I would probably do things differently, and then if there was violence, I would treat violence with a certainty. But right now, you have to understand all the inputs and the outputs. If you condemn one side without taking the other side into account, what about someone always brings up the old lady, the little old lady? What about a little old lady gets shot by a fucking bullet? It's like, I don't know, maybe she was a fucking queen pin. She was a fucking prostitution fucking. There's this like prostitution don in Chinatown who fucking mayors couldn't take down. They didn't even take her down. I think she retired or something, or she just got tired of winning. But yeah, there's this Chinese fucking queen pin who fucking ran shit. Like ran international shit. Like you couldn't, like they got her in court. She just was fucking right back at it, like no time. I forgot what it was. It was a good movie. They should Me Too that fucking movie. Yeah, the Me Too. This is becoming an adverb for like just throwing some feminist bullshit on it. They should Me Too that shit. You need a Me Too that. You should need a Me Too that. I can't say. Anyways. Shaz, you are reacting. This girl is important because she got into my group and became the head of the group, and that's how I was able to back out. I saw the pattern. That's what it is. Forget her intentions or whether I was able to read them in romantic interest or just in a curiosity about the movement. Forget her actions, even though she did pick a guy to hook up with that I would think is questionable judgment. Because that's how you can get entrapped, is if someone speaks of violence and you participate, even if they were setting you up and all of it was fake and all the explosives you bought were fake and plastic and shit. That's how they got most of the media fucking accounts of catching terrorists, or people who were talked up into it by other people. So whenever people talk like that, I just kind of politely, without saying that they're a liar, an agent, or sincere, this or that, you just cover all your bases and you're done. You can move on. You don't gotta fucking figure out the truth when you deal with like possible mendacity or lying. You just say, look it, that's, you can get in trouble just talking about that type of stuff. And we're in a serious situation where there's people like that out there. So whether you're sincere or you're not sincere, this isn't really, it's safe just to don't mention it. My name's Paul, and that's between y'all. My name's Bennett. I'm not up in it. What are all the ways to say that? Fucking, I don't know, it's interesting. People, that just seems like common sense. Why would you talk to me about something that could be a liability for me? That's what the Inuit, it's learning, it's a certain way to walk in life, but it is a wise one. I talk a lot, but hopefully most of it is silliness. And then there's some fucking, maybe lessons or some things that I could pick up. But, I'm talking to myself, but there's that guy goes to preach about Jesus in the fucking Alaska, and he's talking to the Inuit, and he fucking, he's like, yeah, if you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you go to heaven. If not, you're going to be condemned to hell. And the Inuit's like, well, do I have a choice? And the guy's like, yeah, of course. God is a merciful God. He's not, you have free will. You can choose whether to love him or be damned to hell for eternity. He's like, well, what if I've never heard of God and Jesus? And then I'm still going to hell? And the guy's like, no, God's a merciful God. He's not going to condemn you for not knowing something. And then the Inuit's like, then why the fuck did you just tell me? You turned life into an existential situation, where before I had no liability. It's a power move. I'm really fucking conscious of that, just growing up around people I've grown up around, and just fucking walking through shit without fucking having problems, is that problems start very small. And so you manage all that small shit, and it doesn't become big shit. It's like a natural fucking, I guess, thing just to chill shit out that I felt over there. But yes, I noticed the problems with the fucking movement, and I was like, all this money shit has to be cleaned up. That's what it is. The same thing they deal with violence. I told them, I was like, we're just trying to have a day zero and then good accounting from then. We're not trying to go back and fucking whatever. Some people stayed in a hotel, this or that, what the fuck ever. But like, if you want to like turn this into a movement, if you want to turn this into like a non-profit organization, like Move On, I wasn't trying to aim for the moon. In my mind, I was just like, this could actually turn into a non-profit organization that can fucking put people in the streets. So a lot of them came out for the protest against the Iraq War. It was organized by the World Can't Wait and Move On and all those people. So they have a place in the ecosystem of political discussion, but they didn't have that so it was like, no, the money's just going out the door and fucking. And then they got a whole lot more during Sandy. I talked to this girl who took over the farms group. What happened to that? That's another thing. I back out, now I watch. It's like this year. I gave up my business, I gave up my apartment, I got evicted. The world was like, hey, Shaz, if you don't work, we're going to kick you out on the street. I'm like, really? Oh, you're going to do the work for me because I'm kind of addicted to this lifestyle. So you're going to pay for my rehab. Great. So throw me out on the street. I'm fucking stay with friends and now I got to check out on them. Oh, we're friends, right? Well, how do you live? What type of conversations are we having? Okay. I got to go now. Ran out my welcome. Then Addie took me in the longest for a month and a half. And same with her and her boyfriend. She started to flip a little bit. Anyways, let time pass, observe people, and I think you get you get data from which you can form your opinions, and if you do it slowly but surely, then that way, even if your opinions change, or if you grow or mature, or other things happen, you still have the original data. We still have the information. Maybe we interpreted it wrong, but we can go back to the information, and that's just being scientific with the shit, right? So, anyways, I was trying to get scientific with the accounting, and then I was making a lot more enemies, and then it was becoming more fun just to make enemies than it was to be productive. Yeah, it's usually my tail end out of any authoritarian organization, like when I was in the military, just the fucking trailing paperwork and documents and corrections, just like on my way out, I just fucking grab the beer from the cooler and tell the fucking boss to go fuck himself, and those are usually, and you just stay one step ahead of the explosion. I got a cop stopped me in Williamsburg down the street. I was going down regularly coming back from my job, and I'm going down the wrong way. And he stops me, and he's standing right in the bike lane, and he's like, yo, he's just ready to give me the ticket. He's like, where's your ID? I was like, I don't carry IDs, man. He's like, oh, you got it, and you carry it. He was like, not my American, man, no. Just looking at him, just like, this is who I am. What's your name? Shaz Barbaric. This is my social right here, too. Shaz Barbaric. Shaz first name, Bar, middle name, Barbaric last name. Pretty funny, huh? I'm like, give him my address, 13 Carmine, number 13, New York, 10014. I told him when we first started, you're being recorded, man. He was like, cool, you're being recorded too. I was like, cool. Just saying. I was like, we can maybe learn from each other. I learned from this experience, you learn from this experience. He gave me the ticket, I grabbed the ticket, just looking at him, just fucking like, well, I sat down while I wrote the ticket up. There's some time that passed. So I grabbed it, I'm like, yeah, cool, all right. And then I turn around, get back on my bike, and I get about 10 feet, 15 feet, and I hold my hand, crumple of the ticket like that, and I throw it over my shoulder. And I'm very proud. I waited until the corner before I looked back to see if he was going to follow me. I don't know what he did. I'm pretty sure he saw me, though, because I'm pretty sure he was watching me as I was riding away. I was just thinking, I was like, about 10, 15 feet, I could get a good head start, because he might have jumped into the little, he had, a little smart car. I was like, as long as I'm close enough to the corner, I think I could fucking, double back on him or do some other shit. But, Shaz being, sometimes just fucking with authority. That's $50, $60 ticket. It's probably going to be like a $300 thing by the time I deal with it. I pay it. I paid all my debts. That's what's nice. I've gone, not stupid, because I don't judge myself harshly, but I've gone irresponsible with my finances in life, and then I've gone back to zero. Once you've done it before. Some guy lost $850,000 on this one this online journal, really scholarly people who fucking talk about investing in stocks, but these people know what the fuck they're talking about. It's this is the fucking Harvard Business Review, but better for stocks and shit. This dude lost $850,000, and yeah, no, my debts are $100,000 right now. I think I paid off $5,000 or something when I actually paid them off last time. So, you set bigger challenges for yourself. It's 54 minutes. Bank statements. I was trying to get them to audit the bank statements. Oh, and then my plan was to do the buyout, buy-in. We divide all the money up among occupiers that we can prove were in the park on November 15th when we got raided. And if you could find, like, we were going to have, like, witness people, so we'd have, like, some experts who are, like, fucking, like, maybe a panel of people, they have to agree with you. We can have, like, other proof, like, we could just set up standards for proof, like, fucking third parties, or, like, all right, it's verified if, like, this, and that. Or like, by 3 people who actually have been verified, who, like, maybe, or, like, 2 people who've been vouched. But anyways, I was like, can't be more than 200, 300 people, even with a large margin of error. And then we had like $150,000. I was like, fucking, that's like $5,000 a piece. What can a $5,000, 300 people do with $5,000? And people were like, oh, they're gonna buy like fucking drugs and alcohol. I was like, let them. They were there. We have that money because we came out to protest in person. I should put on the dark so I can't see. I got all fucking caffeinated now too. I was like, we have that money because we came out to protest in person. We don't have a right to make a decision for these people, and that's very, like, anarchistic. If I look at anarchist theory and how it developed, that's how it developed, is that a healthy distrust of bureaucracy, because bureaucracy becomes self-serving, and that's what we had in the movement. And my shock therapy would have been just diffuse all the fucking, it's a sugar pile, and it's attracting ants. Spread it among the people. That's just trust. And then, like, some of the people will fall out, but then that's the price to buy out an asshole in our movement. Imagine how much damage an asshole can do to the movement. And a lot of that is also out of resentment. Giving them $5,000, first of all, takes away that resentment, that excuse to be an asshole. And second of all, now we know anyone who take $5,000 and spend it on themselves shouldn't be a part of this movement. It's a very cheap way. That's why companies buy out employees. Because why do we want someone working here who doesn't really want to work here? Or like sports teams. So it's logical. I knew it was logical. And then also then the buy-in part was going to be a fair where, but these are just ideas that I'd have to sell them more. Sometimes I get an idea and I'm like, oh, that's would be the right thing to do based on my objective framework of reality. And when I talk to other people, they seem to agree with it. But I know that these ideas need to be sold. And I'm just like, sometimes like, I ain't got the energy for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Like, you have to think, like, do I want to, even if I succeed, do I want to be in that position that's going to put me in? Or that might be a good way to fucking make yourself feel better for not doing the shit that you actually thought you were going to do. But nah, because once I realized shit is bullshit, I don't fight games that I can't win. Like, there's no reason for me to get upset about the whole thing. I recognized enough bullshit that I was just like, now we're just poking and prodding and gathering information based off of the response. So that's what that was. And that's why people didn't take me seriously too. They were like, what? Some people took me seriously and started arguing, but that was my point. My point was theoretically, it's the right thing to do. I know I don't have the right organizational fucking ability or desire, like capital in the friendship groups and the hierarchies I've been created in this thing so far in order to push something like this through. Still an interesting, fascinating idea though. And people even fucking mentioned it and shit. I have it saved somewhere. The buy-in. So we'd have the fair, the carnival of all your little caucuses, and then people could go with the $5,000 and now donate, buy shares of all the little fucking activist groups that they wanted. But that's a market-oriented fucking solution. And you only respect the market if you've actually gotten into it and made money through it and shit like that. So if you just read theory, or if you just fucking, yeah, these kids hadn't done a lot. A lot of the kids hadn't done a lot. And they were applying their version of the world, untested, onto fucking actual examples. And that's why Leia, so a lot of times I just think it's just a girl who crushed on me that I didn't know how to approach her the way that she wanted me to approach her. She picked this other guy, this fucking dorky kid with a trust fund, as programmer, and she was with him for a while. And they claim a great love and have a nice little horror story and history together, even though they're just friends now. And I'm a tangential part of their life. I went over to their place once, smoked a joint with them. Her tit fell out of her dress. I don't think he noticed. I mentioned it later on in an email. Probably shouldn't have mentioned it. But then I was thinking about it. So it's always good to think about, mention things that you think about. We have other things that we discuss. She's probably my favorite person to talk to that I met so far in the world. But that friendship hopefully will develop with more, I don't know. Maybe I won't, maybe I fucked it up. But I did enjoy talking to her. She has a very good brain on her. But that's what it is. That's not enough. You have to, I'm aware of people's blind spots to the point that they're detrimental to me. And she has some interesting blind spots that would be detrimental to me. Maybe I'm being too paranoid, but a woman like that would be, and it's not just me fearing love, or although a woman like that, we would have reached some really interesting places, because two people who are very smart and then also very sincere and very analytic, and we love talking at this pace, and both smoke a joint and just fucking go off. 50 seconds. I gave her plenty of chances. I still did all the way until the very end. I would like to be with you. Let's just try it. I did it in a certain way, just to kind of like watch, and it's hard for me to articulate how I live my life sometimes, but some things I naturally know are good for me, and some things I stay away from for some reason. So I went into this church in the next one, and I smelled some fucking rats in there, and I got rid of this one guy. And then you see my perspective, and you see the pastor's perspective. Two completely different perspectives. But we were paying the pastor to house us, so it's not like it was any Christian charity. He's some douchebag who plays guitar in the village, but we'll get to him later.